It's Monday, December 28th, 2020. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is 2Box Live. Yes, indeed, everyone. It is Monday. I am Greg Nibbler, and thank you for watching. Wherever you are, we do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button to 2Box Media, TWO Box Media, wherever you're watching, whether it's on youtube.com/2Box Media or Facebook, Twitter, whatever your platform is. Hit subscribe, share the show, and of course, you can always go to 2boxmedia.com as well and follow along, send us an email, all of that stuff. But here's the deal. It is Monday, and we want to start you off with some tech news here today. So some things to catch up on that will help you out throughout the week. And first off, let's talk about something that, well, everybody's talking about, and that is the stimulus bill, which was passed by both houses of Congress and now finally signed by President Trump. There's a lot that we can talk about with that. It's a huge bill, but one thing I wanted to focus on was the tech aspect of it. We've kind of covered a couple of different things associated with that, but one of them being a very important thing, regardless of the time it is, and of course during a pandemic, it's definitely important, that is access to broadband internet. And I wanted to highlight one of the things that's covered in this. There is $700 billion that's set aside for this, and that's set aside during this. And part of that is for broadband connectivity. So just to highlight a couple of the main issues on there. One, for people who don't know, I mean, if you're watching this show, probably you have access to high-speed internet. It's pretty much essential for any business now, but definitely during a pandemic. But for a lot of people, a lot of Americans anyway, and that's what we're kind of highlighting with this, they do not have access to broadband internet. It's estimated by the FCC that 21 million people don't have access to high-speed internet, and that's probably a low number. It's probably a lot more than that, and that's what this tries to help cover. Even if people do have access, it doesn't mean that they can afford it. So here's what we're looking at. Part of this package will include $50 monthly payments for broadband users to help subsidize their internet. Now, it's not going to go directly to those people. It'll actually go to the ISPs. So that's Comcast, Verizon, whoever your internet service provider is. And then they will, in turn, give that $50 credit or free internet to whoever does meet the application requirements. And the application requirements are kind of like this. If you fall under federal subsidy programs, if you have subsidized lunches, things like that, there's a lot of different ways that people can qualify for it, and it'll help pay for that $50. Now, if your internet service is $60, it's not going to pay all of that. You'll pay $10. So it's still a substantial savings, and it helps get people access to the internet they need. Also in there is a program to provide laptops and different types of devices actually that you can get online with, whether it's an iPad or whatever it may be. Probably not an iPad, a tablet of some kind. We'll provide that up to $100 for that, and that's again coming from the ISPs. So it's an important program that's out there, and I think if you're watching this, like I said, you have access, but it's easy to forget how important that is. And so I think that's something that definitely we should let more people know about. People should be aware that this is out there, and especially if you know somebody who doesn't have access to broadband internet. And it could be somebody who's just in a rural area where they don't have it run out there yet. Where I grew up, actually, there is still no access to broadband internet other than satellite, and it's limited. So it is an important thing to actually bring awareness of that. But this is a program that's out there, so be aware of that. Let people know about it. That is something that's in the stimulus bill to help people get access to broadband internet. Wanted to highlight that at the top. All right, continuing on here with some trending news. Let's talk about autonomous delivery, another sign of the times, but also something that was going to be coming up anyway. Now, we know a lot of companies have been testing out different ways to have autonomous deliveries, whether it's via drones or different street vehicles. There's programs that are in place in Houston, in Phoenix, and in particular the Bay Area. And now California has passed a law, legalization for a company to actually deliver goods autonomously and to charge for it. So that's one of the key things here. So the company is called Nuro, Nuro, and they've been testing these out for a while now. If you live in California, you may have seen some of these being driven around, but now that it's approved for them to charge for it, it's going to be going into effect probably in 2021. Obviously, it's not going to happen in the next week. We're already at December 28th, but it is going to be something you're going to start seeing, and this is a big moment for autonomous delivery. If you think about California in general, being such a huge state as it is, now it's only going to be happening in specific areas in the Bay Area right now, but it is is fully approved for autonomous delivery on the road. And they're actually going to be doing it via Priuses to start off with, and then eventually going to this R2 vehicle that you're seeing here on the screen right now. So the Prius will only be licensed to go up to 35 miles per hour, but the vehicles are set to be about 25 miles an hour. So they're going to be very slow. They got to be on very main streets that are well mapped. And but nonetheless, they are going to be delivering. Now, they did say their Nuro is going to be partnering with an unnamed company. So we don't know who that is. I would expect, and this is pure speculation, that it's going to be like a Domino's or a Walgreens or something like that, even a Walmart, something that's going to be delivering different products. But they said eventually what this will be doing is not only food deliveries, but even medical deliveries. It could be medicines to people, prescriptions, people who can't get out of the house and get somewhere, especially right now. So it's a big moment. We don't know how much it's going to cost either. They are going to be able to charge. Maybe they'll partner with somebody and that company will front the cost and it'll be free delivery for a while. Again, we don't know, but expect that news to come out pretty soon now that this is out there. So Nuro with their autonomous deliveries. And I want to know what you think about this, because this, again, we've seen a lot of different companies testing it out. A lot of places have been trying it. You see college campuses, especially because there's less regulations. But now that California has approved this, a Prius to be autonomously driving on the road, delivering things, this could be kind of a bellwether and open the gates for a lot of other delivery program. So something pretty cool to follow along with. And that is, again, Nuro in California with their autonomous deliveries. So you could be getting your pizza delivered by a robot car sometime soon. Read more about that online there. All right, continuing on. Let's do this. Here on this Monday, let's talk about Tesla. Tesla has been in the news quite a bit for a few different reasons, not only earnings, but producing their cars. But now we have an update that came out on Christmas. And if you are a Tesla owner, you know all about this. And I want to fill in everybody else about it because you're going to have no choice but to hear about this very soon. So this firmware update, as Tesla can do over the airwaves, comes in, updates, and provides all kinds of new toys for Tesla owners. One of those things has to do with full self-driving mode, so you're going to be seeing some updates with that. Now, full self-driving mode, I just want to emphasize this again, that's a misnomer. It's not actually full self-driving. This is in preparation for some of that autonomous driving capabilities that the vehicle will have some point in the next year. We don't know exactly when, sometime in 2021. The other couple of updates here that came with it, there's a new interface for those of you that have them. But the key thing here that we're all going to see, and this is regardless of if you are a Tesla owner, it's called Boombox. And that's essentially what it does. It does a couple of things. Well, it turns your Tesla into a boombox to where if you bought one of the Teslas that does have the outside speaker, and there's a lot of them that do, you'll be able to play your music outside for everyone to hear. But that's not all. You get to customize your horns. You get to customize the sound a Tesla makes as it drives. And that is one of the big things that we're seeing a lot of videos pop up. If you were online, you probably saw a lot of Tesla owners posting videos of them trying this out. You can do such horns as La Cucaracha. You can have a goat sound. You can have applause that happens. You can have the air horn on that. You also, look, this is news. I got to say this. You can have a fart sound. Will be actually one of the horns that you can do. So that's all part of what this is. In addition, they're going to be able to, these Tesla owners will be able to upload custom sounds. So if you want to download the sound of a TIE fighter, you could have a TIE fighter sound as you drive through. They did have an update with this as well. There's a notification that says check your local laws before going out and broadcasting your sounds to everybody in your neighborhood. That's all going to be up to what the local authorities say. I'm going to guess a lot of people are going to test this out before they're told not to do it, if they are even told not to do it, because how many laws can possibly be on the books saying don't make your car sound like a TIE fighter? I don't know. But that is what Tesla owners can do. So if you were worried about getting annoyed maybe by some Tesla vehicles, and again, they're very, very cool cars, this is going to kind of take it to the next level. I don't know if this is a good thing in the long run for Tesla, because it could turn some people off of it. But nonetheless, that is what's going to be happening. There's also some new games that came out for it. And again, more, as I said, more functionality for the full self-driving mode. But that is what Tesla has unleashed upon the world, are sounds coming from their vehicles. So there you go. You can, I'm sure, hear more about that somewhere in your neighborhood soon. All right. Continuing on with trending news, and this is something that I feel like some people may have missed, including myself. But if you weren't aware, Super Nintendo World is going to be opening up in Japan, and the targeted date is in February of 2021. As of right now, pandemic considerations being taken into context there, but that's what they're targeting. This was supposed to open earlier this year, and clearly, like everything else, was delayed. But now we're getting to see some more inside action of what it's actually going to be like at this theme park, and it still looks pretty cool, although a little creepy. So let's go ahead and talk about some of this. So here we go. We have got one of the actual original longtime Nintendo developers and designers, Shigeru Miyamoto. So he did a tour. This is part of Super Nintendo Direct, a program that went out about a week or so ago. And he did a walkthrough of the park, showcasing at least the Super Mario side of things and some of the merchandise you're going to be able to get and utilize in there. Part of how this thing is going to work is you'll have a watch that you can use that pairs up with different attractions in the park. So you can ring things, collect coins, collect whatever else they have along with that. And as you can see right here, it brings actual real life things into play, as far as from Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart and everything associated with Super Mario. You will see it all. You'll also have some augmented reality features that are also going to be involved in this, to where AR will be a factor. They didn't showcase a lot of the AR capabilities, and that's probably a hard thing to show on a video, but I would expect we'll see more of that as we get closer. Still, getting an idea of what this looks like is it's pretty cool. I want to go to it. Don't get me wrong. I think we all would enjoy a theme park right about now when it's safe. Although the princess did look a little creepy to me. There's definitely some uncanny valley things that go along with this. I mean, you are bringing cartoon characters to life, so that's part of it. Another thing is you go through, in particular rides where you walk through, you encounter different characters, there's some Koopas, you get all kinds of different things. So that is what we got to see from it. The cafes are also interactive. You've got themed merchandise, as I was saying. This is going into Japan. February 4th, 2021 is the launch date. Now, there's also some that are expected to be launching at some point in Orlando, LA, Singapore, at different Universal Studios locations. Those are all kind of on hold indefinitely, so I'd expect a few years before you'll get to see those. But that is a little sample of what it'll look like. There's also other Nintendo-themed attractions that we didn't get to see. These are just the Mario-themed ones, but that is Super Nintendo World. I'm ready to go, even though it creeps me out. All right. A couple more just trending topics for you here on this Monday to start the week off, talking about some tech news. And certainly over this last year, one of the biggest stories in tech has to be SpaceX. They have been incredibly successful with their launches. They produced another video showcasing the SN8 test launch that just happened, a couple of weeks ago at this point. And this is the one where they tested it out and ended up exploding. The video footage, though, is still amazing. And they said this only had a 30% chance of success, and it made it through everything before exploding when it crashed landed on the ground. But this video just gives you another idea of how fast they're moving along with this. So to give some context, the SN8, which is the one that they tested out, this is the one that eventually this line is what's going to take people to the moon, and then bigger versions will take you to Mars. So this is all testing out this isn't the Falcon, this is the SN line as they are known right now. The SN9 itself, which is the next iteration, was already pretty much built when the SN8 launched. They've got them built up to 2 or 3 different generations actually, just ready to go. One of the announcements they made is that they're going to be using 2 different launch pads at Boca Chica, which is in Texas, which is where they test these launches. They're going to have them both going, so they'll have one ready to go right after the other one, and they're going to really rapidly move up a lot of the testing on this. So much so that the SN9 they're anticipating they could have some test firing even today, depending on when you're watching this, up to maybe the first week of January. We could see a launch, another launch of this, and then the SN10's right behind it, and so on as they try to rapidly advance this. They did say that they could be testing the really big one, the Starship, the big rocket, which would be tested maybe later on this year. So it's moving fast on where we're seeing this go. Who knows by the end of 2021 where we'll be with it, but SpaceX is not letting up. It's pretty exciting to watch. Gotta admit, I love these launches. I think a lot of people do, and their footage is always really good, but congratulations to SpaceX. Again, more to come with that in the next couple of weeks, and we will make sure you are up to date on everything happening with them and their launches right here with 2Box Media. All right, final thing, just to get you going here for the week, we've got this news, and it has to do with something that happened a long time ago, but now we're finally finding out about it. If you are a Trekkie, if you're a Star Trek fan, you're of course aware of who James Doohan is, but I'm talking about Scotty. Yes, Montgomery Scott, from the character from Star Trek, clearly from the original series, but then all the way through all these other movies that he was in. So Scotty, beloved by a lot of people, James Doohan in particular, the actor, and now we know a little bit more about his ashes. So his ashes have been a hot topic for a while because there's been different attempts. They are in space right now, but they were originally there in 2008, and this is part of this story that came out. So it comes from an entrepreneur named Richard Garriott, who was one of those guys back in this was 2008, who's very wealthy and paid for his way onto the International Space Station. So he went up there, and it was a 12-day mission, private astronaut, one of the first ones to do this, not the first, but one of the first. He was contacted by Chris Doohan, who is James Doohan's son, saying it was apparently his dad's goal to always have his ashes up there on the International Space Station. But he had already been approved, Richard Garriott had already been approved for what he was supposed to bring on. So there's a limit on what you do. You have to go through this process. Apparently, he snuck something on anyway. It was a laminate with some of the ashes in it, and he stuck it somewhere in the Columbus module on the International Space Station. So they made it up. He had to keep that a secret for about 12 years now, and then finally he's revealing it, saying they went up. They did send some other ashes up after that, and so there are some more that went up with the SpaceX mission, so it's a double up there, and there were also some that were sent back. But nonetheless, the first ones to successfully make it up there were secretly placed on the International Space Station, which is very cool. Also, a little unnerving that you're able to just sneak things on to the ISS. I would think that that process would be pretty strict and that they go through everything because there's weight reasons to be concerned with, but also you don't want people just bringing random stuff on. So maybe that process has been improved by now, just on that aspect. Not saying it's not cool his ashes aren't up there, but let's cut back on the sneaking things onto the International Space Station. Seems like that's going to not end well at some point. But nonetheless, that's where it's still a cool story to see that Scotty's ashes did make it to the International Space Station way back then, and they're snuck on board. It makes you wonder what else has snuck on board the ISS. So maybe we'll get some more information on that. Somebody will tell all at some point. All right, well, there we go. What I wanted to do here with 2Box Media, again, is just bring you up to date on what's trending in tech, and we have a lot coming up this week. So, once again, like last week, normally we're on Mondays and Fridays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, but this week we're doing Monday and Wednesday. So Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, is when we will be back on the air with another edition of 2Box Live from 2Box Media. And we have some special guests. I'm just going to tell you right now, Ken Young from Flipboard is going to be joining me on Wednesday. We're going to talk about a lot of tech that you'll have to watch to find out everything that we cover, and we'll have you up to date on everything else that's happening in the news. We're gearing up towards CES, which is coming up soon, within the next couple of weeks. The Consumer Electronics Show is happening, so a lot of announcements coming with that. There's already some things coming out. We'll preview some of that on Wednesday, but the main thing is, please follow us. 2Box Media, TWO, Box Media. On whatever platform you watch on, share the show. Let other people know about it. Hit subscribe, like, all of that stuff. It really does help a lot, and we appreciate it greatly, and thank you to everybody who is watching. On behalf of myself, Mike Solis, Jess Serba, we'll be back on Wednesday with more 2Box Live.